personally thank Caitlyn Clark for lifting up our sport. She carried a heavy load for our sport.
Honestly, no disappointment. Like, I think it just gives you something to work for. That's a dream. Hopefully one day I can be there, and I think it's just a little more motivation. You remember that.
The announcement felt like a collective flinch across the entire sports world, a moment of disbelief that rippled from living rooms to social media platforms. When the roster for the 2024 U.S. Women's Olympic basketball team was finalized, one name was conspicuously, bafflingly absent: Caitlyn Clark. This wasn't just leaving a talented rookie off the team. It was a decision that defied the apparent momentum of the sport itself. In a single move, the selection committee managed to alienate a massive, newly engaged fan base and ignite a debate that transcended basketball, touching on issues of legacy, marketability, and generational change. Fans are confused. Commentators were furious. Even casual observers asked the same simple question: How? How do you build the ultimate showcase for your sport and leave its brightest star at home?
Apologizing? You make decisions, marketing. I want people watching. I want eyeballs. I want advertising dollars. Why? Because he'll get paid. Y'all will get paid. And guess who else will get paid? You see where I'm coming from? That's what it's about. Stop acting otherwise. We know this. You don't sit up there and pass on Caitlyn Clark. It was stupid, Team USA. It was a dumb decision. Everybody, there's always somebody that's a sacrificial lamb. I respect the hell out of Rebecca Lobo and what she broke down. I understand it. It was a stupid decision because it compromises what your ultimate goal is, which is to elevate the WNBA.
Especially when that star has been single-handedly driving unprecedented interest. The decision ignited a firestorm, but the real shock wasn't the initial outrage. It was a series of uncomfortable truths, the whispered tensions, and the very public consequences that followed, revealing profound struggle for the soul and future direction of women's basketball itself. This wasn't merely about 12 spots on a plane to Paris. It was a referendum on what the sport values most in its champions. Before we get into the story that shook basketball, if you're passionate about the real dramas and decisions changing sports, make sure you're part of this channel. Hitting that subscribe button and the bell is how you stay ahead of every twist, because the conversation is just getting started. To understand the sheer scale of this miscalculation, you have to understand what Caitlyn Clark had become by that summer, a cultural force that had already rewritten the rulebook. She wasn't just a player. She was a phenomenon, a rare athlete whose arrival felt like a tectonic shift.
Reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through.
She was shattering WNBA rookie records, not just in points but in assists, demonstrating a visionary pass-first style that was both classic and revolutionary, evoking legends like Pete Maravich and Magic Johnson. Arenas sold out wherever she played, with fans, young and old, many wearing her jersey for the first time, lining up for hours just to catch a glimpse of the magic that had captivated the nation during her historic college career. Television ratings for her games consistently spiked, drawing in millions who had never followed the league before, proving her unique crossover appeal. She was, by every measurable metric, the rising tide meant to lift all boats, creating sellouts and broadcast bonanzas even for opposing teams on the road. The Olympics, the world's grandest sporting stage, seemed like the perfect amplifier for everything she brought. Audacious shooting, brilliant playmaking, and a competitive fire that translates in any language. It was supposed to be a coronation, the natural next step in her ascent. Instead, it became a snub that would hang over the entire games, casting a shadow and prompting endless questions about what could been, turning the event into a constant reminder of her absence. So, what was the official reason given in the glaring spotlight?
It's all around the league. But as a coach of the home team, there's going to be a lot of people cheering for that other side.
I don't get two shits.
How about one?
Not even one shit.
The chair of the selection committee, Jen Rosati, stepped forward with an explanation that aimed to project calm professionalism. She outlined a rigorous, 3-year process based on specific, long-standing criteria: playing ability, versatility, coachability, adaptability to the team concept, leadership, and proven success in international competition. She stated pointedly that television ratings and popularity were explicitly not factors, framing the decision as one insulated from the noise of fame. On paper, it sounded principled, a focus on pure basketball merit in a vacuum. But the explanation immediately created more questions and answers, feeling like a script that didn't match the reality everyone was witnessing. Which of those hallowed boxes did Caitlyn Clark fail to check? Was it leadership, when she carried Iowa to back-to-back national championship games with a target on her back every single night? Was it adaptability, when her entire game is predicated on reading defenses and making everyone around her better, a skill set that seems inherently built for team play? The logic began to crumble under the slightest scrutiny, feeling like a post hoc justification. Furthermore, the idea of deliberately ignoring marketability for the Olympics, a spectacle fundamentally built on human stories, superstar appeal, and global audience engagement, felt almost willfully naive, a disconnect from the very nature of the modern games. It was a policy that seemed designed for a different, more niche era, ignoring the modern reality where audience growth and financial stability are inextricably linked to the sport's survival and prosperity. They were privileging a closed system of evaluation over the explosive, organic validation happening right before their eyes. But beneath the surface of this bureaucratic reasoning, other, more human stories began to bubble up, hinting at a climate that wasn't entirely welcoming. There was a palpable sense, a feeling echoed in carefully worded comments from certain veterans and coaches, that Clark's meteoric rise and the fanfare surrounding it wasn't being universally celebrated in the league's locker rooms. Veteran legend Diana Taurasi had made pointed comments earlier in the year, hinting that reality is coming for rookies, that the WNBA was a different beast where newcomers had to earn their stripes through struggle. While not naming Clark directly, the target was clear to anyone paying attention. There were moments on the court, like the intense, seemingly personal coaching barrage from Minnesota Lynx coach Cheryl Reeve during a Fever Lynx game, that fans and analysts widely interpreted as a pointed coldness towards a rookie. The theory took root and spread like wildfire. This wasn't just about basketball purity. It was about territory, about respect for dues paid, about an established order feeling disrupted, and perhaps even threatened by a tsunami of new attention that seemed to bypass the traditional hierarchy. As one commentator bluntly put it, sometimes there's a need for a sacrificial lamb to maintain the old ways. The selection began to look less like a cold evaluation and more like a brutal public initiation, a painful hazing ritual meant to prove she could earn her place in the old guard's world on their terms, a message that greatness granted by the public wasn't valid until anointed by the inner circle. This is where the decision transitioned from a controversial sports debate to a glaring, self-defeating business blunder. Prominent sports analyst Stephen A. Smith blasted the move, cutting to the sports jargon to state the obvious, uncomfortable business truth. The Olympics, he argued, are a global marketing machine. You want maximum eyeballs, advertising dollars, and cultural growth. Passing on the one player guaranteed to deliver that unprecedented attention was, in his uncompromising words, stupid. The stated goal of USA basketball and the WNBA is perpetually to elevate the brand, to reach new heights of popularity and financial success. Yet here was a golden ticket, a player drawing Jordan-level cultural buzz and mainstream conversation, and the system's gatekeepers decided she wasn't yet ready for its biggest platform. You didn't need a business degree to see the staggering disconnect. It was intuitive. It was a profound failure to understand their own product's seismic moment in history. They had a once-in-a-decade player who could have bridged the gap between a hardcore fan and the curious newcomer on a global scale, acting as the ultimate ambassador during the world's largest sporting event, and they chose not to use her. In prioritizing a narrow definition of team chemistry, they risked the chemistry of growth with an entire generation of potential fans. The most damning evidence of this failure, however, came not from heated talk show debates, but from the cold, hard numbers and stark visuals of the Olympic venues themselves. As Team USA began its games in Paris, a strange and telling pattern emerged that spoke volumes. The attendance numbers were underwhelming, especially when compared to other matchups. A preliminary round match between Spain and China drew a robust crowd of over 27,000 fans. But Team USA's high-profile game against Japan? Just over 13,000, a startling figure for the reigning gold medal favorites. The stadiums simply weren't brimming with the expected fervor for the American squad. And then, the moment that encapsulated the entire saga, a fan held up a sign directed at the American team that simply read, "You need Caitlyn Clark to beat us." It was a cheeky joke, of course. Team USA won handily, but it was a joke loaded with piercing truth. They didn't need her to win the game on the scoreboard. They may have desperately needed her to win the moment in the cultural arena, to fill those seats and capture the public imagination. The empty seats and that iconic sign became the undeniable visual proof of the staggering opportunity cost. The very monster of attention and expectation they had reportedly warned about was precisely the energy that could have electrified those stands and dominated the headlines for the right reasons. And then, as the games progressed, the regrets started to seep out from within the very institution that made the choice. In a candid Mid-Olympics interview, committee member and coaching icon Dawn Staley offered remarks that felt significantly weighted. Her tone was somber, almost apologetic. She admitted that if a decision were being made after witnessing Clark's early WNBA performances, where she was already racking up historic assist numbers and demonstrating poised leadership for the Indiana Fever, the choice would have been different. It was a stunning, albeit indirect, admission of a misjudgment. It confirmed what the public and many analysts had suspected all along. The rigid, years-long process had failed to capture the lightning-in-a-bottle momentum of a player evolving at warp speed. They had evaluated a past body of work primarily from college, while a full-fledged superstar was being forged in real time in professional league's crucible. The regret from a figure as respected as Staley was palpable, but it was also tragically too late. The team was set, the games were underway, and the chance to harness that once-in-a-lifetime energy wave for the Olympic stage had permanently passed, leaving only a scenario for historians to ponder. Through all this noise, through the televised debates, the social media drama, and the sobering viewership numbers, one person remained strikingly, strategically silent on the criticism: Caitlyn Clark herself. Her response was a masterclass in quiet ambition and poised maturity. She expressed no public bitterness, no sense of entitlement. She calmly stated she wasn't disappointed. She was deeply motivated. For years comes fast, she noted with clear-eyed focus, already turning her gaze to the long game and the future. She watched the Olympic Games not as a scorned outsider, but as a dedicated student of the game, openly cheering on her would-be teammates. And then she went straight back to work, channeling everything into her craft and promptly breaking the WNBA single-game assist record. Every slight, every doubt, every image of an empty seat in Paris seemed to fuel her transformative fire. She wasn't just moving on, she was visibly evolving, using the monumental snub as a catalyst to become an even more undeniable and complete force. The question for the future was no longer about the validity of her talent, which was now undeniable, but about the system's ability to catch up to her and the new paradigm she represents. So, where does this leave us as we look ahead? The exclusion of Caitlyn Clark from the 2024 Olympics will be remembered not as a simple roster selection, but as a defining turning point, a case study in institutional growing pains. It exposed a fundamental tension in modern women's basketball, the clash between a respected, insular, merit-based tradition and the irresistible, external pressure of a star-driven new era that demands growth. It showed that in today's media landscape, merit isn't just about compiled stats in a vacuum. It's holistically about impact, influence, and the demonstrated ability to carry the sport forward into new frontiers. The committee chose a team they believed was best built on paper to win a gold medal, and they likely succeeded in that narrow, immediate goal. But they may have missed a larger, more lasting victory, capturing a global audience's heart and decisively defining an exciting new chapter for the sport. As the next 4 years accelerate toward the home soil games in Los Angeles in 2028, all eyes will be irrevocably fixed on Clark. Her path, based on sheer talent and will, seems destined for that stage. The real suspense now is whether the guardians of the game will have learned their lesson, evolving their criteria to recognize a generational talent in real time, ready to finally embrace the very star they once left behind, and in doing so, embrace the future she heralds. This is a conversation that's still unfolding and will for years to come. What do you think? Was leaving Clark off the team a necessary growing pain, or a historic blunder that stalled momentum? Do you believe the veterans were protecting their legacy, or was the committee's process fundamentally justified despite the backlash? And most importantly, will Caitlyn Clark not only make the 2028 team, but become its undeniable leader and face? Your perspective is crucial. Drop your thoughts in the comment below and let's keep the debate going. If you want more deep dives into the stories that shape sports beyond the scoreboard, make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button if this analysis resonated with you, and ring the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.